Hello, everyone. I'm Ala Casual today, and I just want to tell you a little story about how I came to be doing some of the music that I've been creating recently. And sometimes, well, I say most of the time, things in our life come out of conflict. And how do I get this accomplished? How do I do what it is I want to do? How can I get from point A to point B? And so this story for me starts out uh, yesterday, or I think it was 2 days ago. I ended up having to drive back to my old house, my old home, which is 3 hours away. There were three huge things that I had to accomplish: pick up a load of things, close down a house that I was part of, as well as work with the philanthropy group that I'm involved in to make some product for an upcoming event. I mean, basically, you call that 2 days of no sleep. And on the way home yesterday, still an hour and a half away from home, my truck breaks down on the side of the road. What does it really break down? I lose a tailpipe. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I've had no sleep, like maybe 5 hours of sleep in two days. And I've just been like pounding the pavement. And I'm sitting here thinking, this is my opportunity to either whine and moan about this situation, or this is also an opportunity for me to say, okay, what can I learn from this situation? How can I make, I guess the phrase is, how can I make lemonade out of lemons? And so I made a decision right there on the side of the highway, not to what I call freakazoid out about the situation. And thinking about all of the things that were going on. So, I mean, my vehicle is running. I'm sitting there on the phone with roadside assistance people, and they're saying, "Oh, we're going to send you a tow truck." I'm like, "I don't want a tow truck. I want someone to come help me deal with this tailpipe so I can get home." and trying, not to make it super expensive for my insurance company or anything. And I had some my music playing in my truck, and I'm just sitting there. Okay, I'm gonna chill out. I'm gonna relax about this. And I'm like, okay, I would just like a policeman to show up. So a policeman, within 2 minutes, I'm out on the ground. It's pitch black outside. Underneath the truck, this policeman shows up, and it was wonderful because he comes behind me and the lights were shining underneath. I could actually see because I didn't have a flashlight with me. I mean, you would think you'd have a flashlight in your rig, but no, I somehow did not have one. And I have these boards 14 feet sticking out beyond because I picked those up, and the last bits of all the things that I had. So I'm sure he pulls up, he sees all this stuff hanging out with, I had my red flag. Don't worry, I had red flag. I had a lawnmower stacked up there, I had all these plants back there. The inside of my truck was filled with all these boxes, and he's looking at me going, what's this chick up to? And here I am. So I just made this decision that I was going to stay in a place of peace and calm in this situation. And long story short, we get the tailpipe connected back enough so that I can follow him into town to a place where he knows I'm going to be safe. So shout out to the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office because they were wonderful. And this Kootenai County in the state of Idaho. And I'm looking at some notes here so I don't take too many rabbit trails. As I'm following him, I am sitting here thinking, okay, how did I get to this place where I can be in even when there's chaos? I've just come from 2 days of no sleep, all this work, moving out of two different places. I mean, it was crazy. And amazingly enough, I wasn't freaking out during any of it. And, it's times like this that we get sick. And, and so much of that is our frame of mind. And so if I go back all the way back to the beginning of when I started creating my music, it was out of my desire to help bring people into a healthier place in their life. And then, of course, I use myself as the guinea pig, which is the best way to do it. It's out of our experiences that we share something with someone else that helps them on their own journey. And so you can imagine, just think of yourself sitting on the highway, broken down, you have no light, and you've not slept for 2 days, and you're sitting there going, oh. And I just made the decision that I wasn't going to let this ruin my day. And I mean, it was almost 2 o'clock in the morning before I got home, and so no sleep that night because I had to get up this morning at an early meeting. Here I am smiling, and again, that's why I left myself kind of in my a la casual, so you could see me with no sleep after 2 days. And I'm still okay. I'm in a good mood. And that is all because of my choices. I made choices. And so in creating my music, this really does lead back to that. I had the desire that I wanted to practice being in a place of rest and peace. And I did that through music because I'm a musician. And it's one of the reasons I created my music to begin with. I mean, I just let stuff bubble out of me and flow out of me. And I created it to give me an atmosphere in my house that I could feel calm to. And other people are like, ooh, I like this. We call it chillax music. And so at the same point, I was going through a bunch of transformation in my life. Things aren't perfect. We go through stuff. I mean, I've been going, in the midst of all this, I was going through an eminent domain situation, which basically resolved this past weekend. And that was a 7-year process. So all through all of this, I'm learning how to be at peace in that and to still be healthy in my life. And at the same time, I'm realizing that creating this music and just from that place of peace where my intent was to be at peace, to be at rest, to be in a place of feeling Creator's love for us and how important we are in the whole scheme of everything. I'm focusing on all of that. And so as I'm doing that, there's roadblocks along the way. One of the things that I learned really early in this journey was it's so important what comes out of our mouth. There are many religious texts that will say, life and death are in the power of the tongue. What you say frames your world. And I really believe that's true. Now, in the last few years, all this research I've been doing into musical frequencies and frequencies in general, scientists are finding out how important our thoughts and our intents are. So during this whole journey, I'm discovering this. At the same time, I'm working through all these life circumstances. And I'm like, how can I still be in a place of rest? How can I still be in a place of peace when I'm fighting with the state for my home? Or when all these other things are going on? And, it's all about practicing, understanding from that place how I can bring that into my life. Now, the research also says that what makes it sick is when we're operating from a lower frequency. If we have negative thoughts, it's self-doubt. All of those things create to illness, into sickness. And so if we operate out of love, out of joy, out of peace, out of kindness, out of choosing not to be stressed out about something, that brings our body into a higher frequency so that we can actually be healthier. So I've been practicing this for, 15 years, even before some of this other stuff kind of hit in my life. And I guess you could say I had an epiphany, you know, through all of this when I started being consistent with what was coming out of my mouth. It is 10 years probably after I really started practicing this. And I can think of maybe 3 times in that 10 years I've been sick. And I don't go to the doctors. I'm on zero medications. You know, I'll take some flower essences and some music essences and some other natural healing things through nature paths, herbals and things like that to help as needed. But in general, most of what I do is framed with my intent and what comes out of my mouth. So in the process of doing this, and I think in one of the recent videos, I shared about the healing properties of the Hebrew months. I mean, and really quick, you know, a small recap of that is there's a healing protocol that they've had in place for 3,000 years. I'm like, okay, they're doing something that must be working because they've been doing it for 3,000 years. If you go back and look into that, it's all about intent, framing our words, framing our thoughts, not focusing on all the negative junk that is all around us all the time. I mean, all the naysaying and all of the conspiracy theories and all those things out there. If we put our focus on those, then we just go along with it. And so I have tried to do this and look the other way and say, okay, what is the opposite of that that can bring me into a place of where I'm healthy? So I'm like, okay, what can I do to be in that position where I'm over here looking at this and I'm like turning a blinder to this stuff because that stuff just pulls me into, which I don't, you know, who wants to be there? So then I, you know, with some friends came up with, okay, there are healing properties in each of the Hebrew months. I'm like, what if I took and created a song for each month based on the healing properties in that month, and then did a guided, what we call it, a guided visualization, where I take the same song and I talk over the top of it and help people say, okay, this is the thing for this month. We're going to focus on this. And so every day, get up, get your journal, write this, write that, and then ponder on that, whatever it is for the whole month. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. That's a really good plan. And I'm like, how can I put that? I mean, let me back up a little bit. I'd already been putting some of that, into practice in my own life anyway, probably for the last 5-6 years especially. I really started to focus on it. And when something negative comes at me, it's just like, hits me in the head, I didn't hurt myself, just so you know. Then I just immediately, you know, I try to put to my memory, okay, how can I get from over there and look over here to the opposite of the negative thing that's trying to grab my attention? So in the process of putting that practice, people started seeing changes in me, and they're like, what are you doing different? You're looking younger. How come you're not sick and everybody around you is? And I'm like, well, I don't subscribe to it. And I always joke with my friends, I gave up sick for Lent. And everybody laughs. But when everybody around me is sick and I'm not, they're like, okay, what is it you're doing? And I'm like, number one, I'm not focusing on all that negative junk that's over there. It's not that I haven't had things on, I mean, but this is what I've done. During this whole move, which has been the most recent part in the last month of this, there's been 2 times where I've started to get, I call them symptoms. And I look at them as these little things that just kind of sit here and go, hey, would you like to play with me today? And I'm like, excuse me, why would I want to play with you? Well, because everybody around you is sick and everyone else has got a cold or they've got the flu, and all of your students are coming into lessons and they're all sick, so you should be sick too. And I'm like, excuse me, I don't think I'm going to pay attention to you. I'm going to focus on here. So I go, you know, it's not that it's not there. It's not that it's not knocking at the door. It's not that didn't have a scratchy throat, but I'm like, oh, I'm not like, oh, I'm so sick. I feel like today. And there were some days I felt like that, but I still got up and I'm like, excuse me, I'm not going to play with that today. I'm going to kick it out the door and I'm going to look over here and I'm going to see what it is that's the opposite of that. Well, the opposite of sick is health. And again, I framed my world with my intent. Now, I do that a lot through music. Putting on music where I know the intent is built into the music, because I've created it, of bringing health into our entire systems, physically as well as emotionally. Because I know just from a lot of the research studies and even my own life that when my emotions are in check and I'm not focusing on woe is me or who's going to pick on me today, and I'm feeling a little bit, I'm feeling more healthy there, then my body is physically more healthy. And so I've really actually been putting this into practice in my life pretty heavily for the last 6 years. And really over the last 6 years are the years I've been the healthiest in my entire life. Yes, there's still some aches and pains, but I don't pet them. Petting an illness or petting something is like, woe is me, I'm right. Like this today. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get up, put my big girl panties on, and I'm going to say, I walk in divine health. I'm not going to be sick. My body is healed. I'm not going to be sick. I was created to walk in full health. I wasn't created to be sick. I was created to be healthy. And framing my world with that. So what I started doing, again, was saying, I call them declarations and decrees over myself on a regular basis. Then I started building that into the song of the month. And then as people ask for personal songs, we'll do the same thing. But the whole point of the song of the month is to give a practice platform for those of us who want to spend time really focusing on turning from this thing over here, all the negative junk that comes at us, and looking at what is the opposite side that I can look at. Oh, there's a little bit of peace over there. Okay, maybe I'll put some joy on today. Maybe I'll smile a little bit more. I'm not going to let this thing over here rule my day, but I can let this thing over here come and take and cover it. And so my focus has been more on that, which is what I put into the song of the month. And I'm realizing that by doing that, because this is 2019 that I'm making this video. The song of the month has been going on for about a year. And so I've been practicing, just like you do a musical instrument. And those of you who've known me long enough know I'm a professional musician. If you don't practice your scales and arpeggios every day, you got to go watch the Aristocats, where all the little kittens are jumping up and down the keys, and it's all about the scales and arpeggios. It's all about practicing, getting the muscle memory in your hands, getting your brain to be able to do what it needs to do. It's the same with our thoughts and intents. If we can reframe our world so that the negative stuff is way down here, because that's all the lower frequencies, and then we have all that positive stuff that we focus on. Even though this stuff may be still nipping at us, this is where our focus is. Here, not on the junk that's down here. It's amazing how much that actually changes the way we physically feel. It really does help us reframe our minds when we focus on our thoughts, we focus on our intents, which then lead to what comes out of our mouth and our actions. they really do say that actions speak louder than words. And so part of my thing has been to find a way to just walk and be healthy and live more from a positive frame of mind and not focusing on the negative. And I can say that through practice, through that focusing on what is the opposite of that negative thing, I'm beginning to transform my entire life because I'm way healthier than I've ever been. And as we get older, people think, oh, I'm just going to get sicker and I'm going to die and all of that stuff. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to participate in it. So you're looking at someone who's hardly had sleep for 2 days. And I have chosen, even though all this crazy stuff has gone around this last weekend, I made the decision, look over here, see what the good is out of this, and how maybe my positive attitude in the midst of something is going to help somebody else. And it also helps me physically. It helps me emotionally. And when we're physically and emotionally functioning better, then we're going to have a better frame of mind. I mean, it becomes a very cyclical thing. So if that even interests you, I hope that you join the Song of the Month. And again, you just go into healingfrequenciesmusic.com, just like it sounds, www.healingfrequenciesmusic.com, and go under the products for Song of the Month and sign up for it. So I hope that helps. It gives you an idea of how that you can help retrain and reframe your mind so that you're focusing on what is it that I can do to bring my body, my emotions into a healthier lifestyle so that I can walk in divine health. Thank you for listening.